You're listening to Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. Our show provides listeners with an insider perspective of Texas A&M athletics and its greatest supporters. This podcast will bring you exclusive interviews with coaches, athletes, donors, and the dedicated staff of Aggie Athletics and the 12th Man Foundation. You ready? Let's dive into today's episode. Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. I'm your host, Ivy Robinson, and I am in studio today with Texas A&M football defensive back Will Lee III, also known as the Blanket. But Will, thanks for being here and for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so I'm sure you get this question everywhere you go, but the nickname, the Blanket,
Yeah.
we just have to know, tell us about the Blanket nickname and who gave you that nickname?
So it all started back when I was in JUCO back in Iowa Western. So me and a group of my buddies were sitting down in the cafeteria and we're just chilling, eating, and we're like, man, we need to come up with something like to get our names out there. And then we was like, man, what can we do? And then we just saying names. And then one of my friends said the Blanket. At the time, we thought it was corny. So we were like, man, nah, we're not going to use that. And then the next day, I ended up making a play at practice. And then he was like, man, the Blanket. And then my DB coach was like, that's kind of fire. And then I'm like, for real? He was like, yeah, you should stick with it. And then I'm like, okay. So then that whole time in JUCO, I changed my bio to the Blanket, my Twitter, all that. And then coaches are hitting me up, talking about the Blanket. That's fire. And I'm like, man, I didn't think it was going to get this far with it. So it came from JUCO, and it was just, I took it and ran with it. So,
yeah, it stuck. That's great. I'm glad you brought up your time at JUCO because I want to come back to that. But let's go back a little bit to the beginning of your story and just provide our listeners with a little bit about your background, like where you're from. Tell us about your family, where you went to high school.
I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I went to Kirkwood High School. It's a little city in St. Louis, and my whole family went there, from my grandparents to my dad and my uncle. And then I really just started playing football from there. Since my little league team in Kirkwood, the coach was the best friends with my dad. They played together in high school, so I played for him. And then I just took off with it from there. Being in high school, just playing football my whole life. That's really all I know, just playing football. My dad played football, my uncle played football. He ended up playing at the University of Florida. So seeing him and seeing all the stuff, his jerseys around the house, that kind of made me want to be oh, I could really go far with this.
Yeah.
So,
what did he play at the University of Florida?
so he played DN, way bigger than me. So yeah, that's what he did. But yeah, that's really been my whole life, sports. My grandpa, he played baseball. Sports has always been a whole family thing for me. So that's just been around a bat and a ball my whole life. So that's really just how my whole life's been going.
I love it. What about football just really captivated you as a young kid? Why did you like the sport specifically?
So at first, I started playing football when I was in second grade, tackle football. And I remember I was talking to my dad before the first game. He tells me the story all the time. And I was always oh, I'm scared of getting hit. And at the time, I played running back. So he was think of it as tag out there. And I was like, okay. So my first play, I got the ball. I ran to the outside, and it was an inside run. I ran to the outside and scored. And when I scored, that feeling of just scoring and hearing everybody cheer really made me feel good. So I'm like, man, I like football, bro. And then I just looked at it as it's really something I could change my life with in a positive way. So it's really just changed my life for the better.
That's awesome. So the game has opened doors for you would say?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Going back to your family, so you said your dad played football, uncle played football. Do you have any siblings?
So I have 6 sisters, and they're all way older than me. But really it was at a time where me being around my cousins and everything, we always played football. They played on the older team ahead of me, and some of them played on younger teams under me, and we always played football. Really, if it's one thing I could talk about all day, is football. I love it so much. So yeah.
So you have lots of memories with your cousins just playing games, and
Yeah.
that, I guess, is that where kind of the love grew, just playing with them and
Yeah, it really grew from when I was in high school. We have this thing in St. Louis. It's called Turkey Day, which is a high school like Kirkwood, my high school, and then the rival high school, Webster Groves. So they play on Thanksgiving. Like, it's the big game of the city. We always play, and then like Kirkwood plays Webster. We beat them every time. The record's like 28. Like, we're 28 and 0, and
oh man.
yeah. So it's like my cousin played on the rival team. So we always played against each other, and it was always a family rivalry at the time. My cousin, like his dad and my dad would always talk trash to each other. And then at the end of the game, we'd always be at Thanksgiving dinner together. So it would be crazy. But he ended up, actually, his senior year, he ended up transferring to my high school and playing with me. So we got to play together and beat up his old school. So, yeah.
Man, there's nothing better than a rivalry, right? High school rivalries especially.
Mm-hmm.
So St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
What do you love about St. Louis?
It's different. You know, like, you can really tell a person's from St. Louis by just talking to them and the way they hold themselves. Like, they real confident. They're real firm people. Like, they really, like, are a type of person. If you tell them they can't do it, they going to prove you wrong. That's why I love St. Louis. Like, the people there are different. I love the food there. If it's one place like I'll always go back to and visit, it would be St. Louis. I love the people there. They're supportive. Like, you come out of St. Louis and you make it, and like you're a big celebrity or whatever, like they always show love. It's no hate. So I really love St. Louis.
Growing up, did you have any favorite NFL teams?
So yeah, my favorite NFL team was the St. Louis Rams. At the time, I really only liked one player on the team. It was Steven Jackson, the running back. So if you really want to be honest, my favorite NFL teams, the Philadelphia Eagles. That's my dad's favorite team. But really, like, growing up, I didn't really watch NFL for real. Like, I didn't go to a game. At that time, I really just watched the Cardinals. Like, David Freese is my favorite baseball player of all time. He went to, like, a small community college 10 minutes away from my house. So, like, David Freese, Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, like, those are my guys for sure. I'm still waiting to get a picture with them. Hopefully, like, I get bigger and, like, known, they'll take a picture with me for sure.
So outside of football in high school, did you do anything else, other sports?
Yeah. Honestly, like, if I was 6'5", 6'6", I would play basketball. They really compare me to LeBron James, honestly. I was really the chosen one. But nah, like, all jokes aside, basketball was my sport, though. I love playing basketball. And then running track was fun, too, until I started racing people faster than me. So that was fun. But, yeah, basketball, that's my sport. I love basketball, dunking and everything.
Do you think there's anything about track or basketball that actually helped you become a better football player?
I feel like basketball, like, when you dunk the ball, like, you get to that high point in the air. So when you're guarding a receiver and the ball's in the air, if you think of it as, like, getting a rebound or going up for a dunk, I feel like that helps you. And then track, speed can always help you in every sport. So really just that aspect of running fast and working on your running form, it'll just help you in the long run for everything.
So going back to football and in high school, at what point did you start playing defense?
So I played defense all 4 years in high school. So I was always like, I played both sides. I played receiver and then I played safety. And then my junior year, I took the transition to linebacker. So I played linebacker. So really that kind of helped me out in the long run because a lot of corners don't like to tackle. So really just being in that aspect of playing linebacker in high school, it kind of helped me out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So outside of football, Will, what do you enjoy doing in your free time? Do you have any hobbies?
I'm really a chill guy. Like, I go fishing. I play video games. Like, I do stuff like that. But really, like, I like shopping a lot. If you gonna find Will somewhere, it's probably, like, in the mall. Like, I have so many shoes. It's crazy.
Do you have a favorite pair of shoes?
Ooh. I can probably say my favorite pair of shoes is probably my Travis Scott Phantoms, the black ones. I wear those all the time because they go with everything. But I got other shoes that are like my go-tos, but I kind of only wear them for special occasions.
In high school, at what point did you set your sights on playing football in college? Did you always know that's what you wanted to do? Or was there a moment where you realized, hey, I think I can do this, like I want to pursue this in college?
So it's kind of crazy. Like when I really felt like I could go somewhere with football, I was playing a basketball game. We were playing basketball. The University of Iowa was there. He was watching my teammate Jamori Macklin. He was watching him play basketball, and I ended up getting a fast break, and then I dunked on the person on the other team. And then after the game, the University of Iowa's linebacker coach, he ended up talking to me, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. So then, like 2, 3 days later, he called me and said they'd like to offer me a full ride scholarship, and then I was like, man, that's crazy. I'm playing basketball. I got an offer for football. So, like, really, right there, it really showed me like how crazy this football thing can be and like how far it can take me.
So had you not considered football until that moment? You were kind of focused on basketball?
Really, at the time, like I'm just a kid, just having fun, just playing
Got it.
sports.
Yep.
So it's just like I don't really think too much of it. Like I'm just having fun doing what I've been doing my whole life. And then once I felt like I could get school paid for, like my family don't gotta pay for school, and like I could change my life, my family life, I'm like, man, I maybe want to start taking this serious. And then at the time, I was really considering to stop playing basketball and just focus on football. And then my dad sat me down and was saying like, man, this sport here can help you with this sport here. And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So really I started taking football more serious and started getting bigger, lifting, running. And then my junior, senior year, like all the offers started just piling up. So yeah, that's really that's when I started figuring out like football was a big thing after getting my first offer.
Can you talk about the journey, your collegiate football journey, because you played for Iowa Western Community College,
Yeah.
and then after that, Kansas State. Tell us about the recruitment process when all those offers came through, and then why you decided to go to Iowa, and then how you ended up at Kansas State. Can you just walk through all of that for us?
Yeah, so really it's just my senior year, everything was going good. Like I didn't end up doing the part that I needed to do on my end to be eligible out of high school. So really was just thinking about like what should I do here and like what should I do. I ended up going to Iowa Western. So I ended up going there, and then luckily like my freshman year coming in there, a lot of my close friends that I played football with, they ended up getting recruited to go there. So it's like me and 3 other guys from St. Louis that's playing there. And at the time I'm just thinking like, okay, this like high school, we finna have a blast. So and then around that time it's kind of like COVID. So I'm thinking I'm gonna play, and then I'm gonna end up going to a D1. So COVID was like happening kind of around that time. So a lot of players that were there, they had like an extra year to come back. So that kind of slowed the process down for me of getting out of there. So I ended up redshirting, ended up being there for another year. And then that year I ended up playing, started all, like 11 games. Just grew as a football player, tacked up a lot of offers, won a national championship there. And then really just when it came down to December of making my decision, I kind of knew I wanted to go to K-State. I was committed to them before the national championship game. And then really I kind of just felt like K-State was the best fit for me. Like I was real close with the cornerback coach then coming out, so it really made it easy for me going there.
Transitioning into Texas A&M, unpack that for us. So at what point did you realize, hey, Texas A&M, like this might be a good move for me?
So I ended up entering the transfer portal from Kansas State, and Texas A&M hit me up. I talked to Elko for a little bit, and then I just really wanted to fill out everything I could get from the transfer portal. So I kind of felt everything out, made my decisions on where I wanted to go. And then my first visit was Texas A&M because my uncle and my dad ended up moving from St. Louis to Houston. So kind of my family, close family members were in Houston, which is only like an hour and 30 minutes away. So it's really kind of like not far away from home. So I was like, okay, this is going to be my first visit. So I come here, like everything's great. I'm excited because also like me being at Kansas State, we didn't have nothing near like what we have here. The weather's good, like everything's just good here. So I come here, I see the stadium, and then that really like took me away because like at Kansas State we played in like 55,000, 56,000, and then here it's like 108 plus. So like it's crazy. And then I sat down, talked with Coach Elko, and then I really told him like, yeah, I really love it here. I told him the other schools I was gonna visit, and then he's like, okay, just let me know. Like, I don't want to rush you into doing anything. He was being real, like, open and heartfelt with everything, like, understanding. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, all right. So I went back to the hotel room, and I was just sitting there, and I couldn't sleep. And I'm like, man, bro, I don't know what I should do. And then my friend called me, and he was like, man, how you like it there? I'm like, bro, I think this the one. And then he was like, for real? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you far from St. Louis, though. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel like this for the best. And he was like, I'm with you with whatever. So then I hung up the phone with him, and then I closed my eyes for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, this the one. And then I texted my dad. I was like, I think I'm finna commit. He was like, already? I was like, yeah. He was like, let's commit then. And then I called Matty Ice that night. It's probably like 12 o'clock at night. I called him. I'm like, bro, I'm finna commit. He was like, for real? He was like, man, let's go. I had my edit made that night, ready to post in the morning. So I posted in the morning. I'm still here. I ain't even go home yet. So I committed same day really. So
Wow.
I knew it was a special place.
You just had that feeling that it was right.
Yeah.
It was good fit.
Mhm.
That's awesome. You mentioned what Texas A&M has here is unique and special and not anything like you'd ever experience. And so in terms of student athlete resources and the facilities
Mhm.
that y'all have here, can you describe what that's like to you and how beneficial it is to have the resources and have the facilities that you do have here at Texas A&M?
Yeah, it's great. Like from the nutritionists to the strength staff to the coaches, like it's one of one. You can ask anybody for anything and they'll have it, and if they don't have it, they'll get it. So it's perfect. Say you're like nicked up, bruised, they got Normatex for your legs and everything like that. So it's always an open family. Like I go in the training room like every day. I bet they tired of seeing me. I'm always in there just doing cupping and doing stuff like that to just make sure my body's right. I'm always in there joking around with them, playing music. I'm always putting them on new songs in there. Like it's fun. Like I just love being there. I barely be home. It's like my home for sure. Like I'm always up here talking to people, doing everything. So
So you just love it here.
yeah, basically
Hmm.
that's what it is. But yeah, they always make sure I'm straight. They make sure everybody else straight. It's definitely like a home feeling.
Are there any resources or maybe individuals, so people on staff or your coaches, academic advisors, who really helped make your transition process to Texas A&M go smoothly?
Really, like all the staff members and everybody, like they made it easy, but like really, it's just the players here. The players here make it feel like a home and like a brotherhood. You have players from all around. Like you hear people with different accents, different lingos, everything like that, and it's just fun to just be in the locker room. It reminds me of being in junior college because like you get players that come from everywhere. Being at Kansas State, we had a lot of guys from around the place, but it was a real local area, so like you really got what you saw. Being here, like you get people from Louisiana, you get people from Georgia, Alabama, then you get people from California. Like it's real different. Me being in the Midwest, people said like I had an accent, but like hearing people from down south, it's real different. So like it's real fun to be in the locker room. The guys really make it like a home feeling.
That's awesome. And
Mhm.
that's something I wanted to ask you about was the team culture of this
Mhm.
football team and the environment. Just the camaraderie that Mike Elko has really established with you guys.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you?
It means the world because like it's building me to be a better football player, but it's also building me to be a better man off the field. So like all the stuff he talks about in the locker room or like the videos y'all see on social media, like it really holds true. It helps you at the football field and everything, but at the end it helps you in life. You always got to be a man of just being on time, making sure you're doing what you say you're going to do, and make sure you do everything right and do it at your full potential. So everything he talks about, like it really holds true, and like I appreciate him for it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
You mentioned you're really close to just your teammates, and the camaraderie that you all have is really unique and special. How do you think your teammates would describe you?
They'd probably describe me as goofy. Like I'm never serious. If you see that I'm serious, you could look at me, smile, and I start laughing. Like I remember it always be those days like I'm gonna be like I'm gonna come in practice, I'm gonna be so serious, like I'm not finna talk to nobody, and then I'll see somebody like Des Ricks or Jaden Hill, and they'll make a joke, and I'm dying laughing, like it's crazy. Man, they gonna describe me as goofy and just fun, but like when it's time to lock in and focus up, I'm one of those guys to be trustworthy, and so they gonna describe me as a goofy person.
So, Will, when you first arrived to Texas A&M, did anything surprise you, like traditions, or what were your first impressions of Aggieland?
So the craziest thing when I first got here, cowboy boots is like a real thing. People actually wear cowboy boots, and I thought it was always like people like that ride horses and like in the
Like
movies.
actual ranchers and
Yeah.
farmers, yeah.
Uh-huh. And then it's like I'm going to class and I see people in jeans and cowboy boots. I'm like, "Oh, wow, this different." Then also like one of the traditions that really shocked me when I got here was the midnight yell. I saw a video of it and it was like the whole stadium was really like filled practicing the yell, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like I ain't never seen nothing like that. I really appreciate the fans for that part too. So
Hmm.
yeah.
What did you know about Texas A&M before you committed? Had you heard about the university or the
Mhm.
football program? Like, what did you know much about Texas A&M before you started visiting here, or before you actually got here as a student athlete?
I'm an honest guy, so like honestly, I only knew Johnny football. So like that was really the only thing I knew. Me watching Texas A&M, I was watching Johnny football. Anything that I seen with y'all, it was with him. I always thought it was a great school. Like I always knew that the fans were gonna be like everything for the school. I always heard like the fans are always Texas A&M. Like the 12th man is real. But like me watching it, I'm watching Johnny football and everything like that. But when I really got here and went on my visit and learned the culture and what Texas A&M really brings to the table, I'm like, okay, like I was really missing out on a football team that I should have done my research on. So being here and doing my research now and just being a part of the family, I'm really glad I came here, and everything that came with it was great.
Staying on that topic of the 12th man and just their loyal, incredible support, let's go back to your very first game at Kyle Field and reflect on that. What emotions did you experience running out of that main entrance tunnel for the very first time?
Man, it was crazy. So like we do like pre-games like to the first game on like how we're gonna come out and how we're gonna get set up so everybody's prepared. But we didn't do with the smoke coming out the tunnel. So I forgot there was a field goal post in the middle. So I had to low
Oh
key
no.
like run slow so I didn't hit it. And I was probably like a foot away from hitting the field goal post. But running out to the fans and seeing like everybody with the white towels and everybody cheering, it was crazy because like I said, like I wasn't really used to playing in front of big stadiums. So like me being there as the first game, I'm like, man, this is real. My hands shaking on the sideline, like my adrenaline's running. And then when we got to those big third downs and they started playing Mobamba, like I was really feeling it. I'm like, ooh, this is crazy. Then like, man, it's a great feeling to be a part of. You really just got to be there to understand. Talking just doesn't do enough of it. You got to really be in there and witness it. And, man, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, for those people who have never been to Kyle Field or played in Kyle Field, like, what would you say to them?
And we got the best stadium in college football. I truly believe that. We got the best fans. The support here is crazy. If you want to come and play for a team that's going to support you and you're going to feel like you're on top of the world, like I come to Texas A&M.
If you could pick one play, do you have a favorite play that you've been a part of so far this season? Does anything stand out to you?
Really, my favorite play is when we played LSU. I didn't even make the play. It was when we was on their sideline and I dropped back into my third, and then they threw the ball and BJ Mays got the pick, and it was his second one of the game. That was probably my favorite play, like of me being here. Just hearing the crowds yell and go crazy because the game's changing now and we on a roll and we got momentum. Like that was a crazy feeling. And just seeing my boy BJ get his second pick, it means the world because we always talk about in the locker room who going to have more picks. And him getting two in the game and passing me with one was amazing feeling. Like I was hyped. I'm running with him the whole way. So, yeah, that was probably my most exciting play of being here.
Man, that entire stadium just erupted in that moment.
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever heard Kyle Field that loud. I think that was the loudest game I have ever been to. And I
Yeah.
graduated from Texas A&M.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been to a few really, really exciting loud games, but that was one
Yeah.
of the loudest games I've been to.
Mhm.
Yeah, electric, truly. Going back to the coaching staff, is there anyone specifically here at Texas A&M who has pushed you to become a better version of yourself, whether it's football player or just an individual?
Yeah, Coach Moffitt, he really pushes me to be like the best person I can be, like on the field and off the field. What he holds true in the weight room of always working hard and just giving your all, you can look at it as like, yeah, that's for also lifting weights and stuff like that, but it's also out there in like regular life. You always want to give your all and give your best at it. So like Coach Moffitt, he really showed me like really what it is to be like a better person and just always work hard. He always has one tempo and it's fast and he's always going to yell, and you're never going to see a day he's not yelling and he's not wanting everybody to go fast and go 100%. Like he stays true to it. So me seeing him every day come with that same energy, it really shows me like I can really do this too. Like I bet he's tired, I bet he doesn't feel like yelling, but he's going to do it regardless because it's helping us get better. So it really, like Coach Moffitt really got me to like really understand how it feels to be like on top of my game.
Mm-hmm. Do you do anything on game days to really help you lock in or to prepare yourself mentally?
So since my first game in JUCO, I always FaceTime my friend. His name Jalen. He like my best friend. Like I knew him since we was like born. Like our families know each other. We both played football in high school. Like he didn't end up being able to play on in college. So like it's really like I'm living both our dreams really. I FaceTime him before every game and walk around the stadium and show him the stadium on away games and stuff like that. So every game I FaceTime him. I never miss a call.
So I mean, it's a must.
Mhm.
That's awesome. What values or mottos do you personally hold to keep yourself accountable and just to give your all, like you mentioned earlier, how Coach Moffitt's always stressing that, but what values do you personally hold as an individual to work hard and give your best in all that you do?
The values I hold is really like one key one is do what you say you're gonna do. Me telling the coaching staff of like what they're gonna get from me coming here, and like me telling my teammates what type of player I am. Like I gotta live up to it now. So like I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do. So that's really like a big value that I hold to myself. It makes me a better player because I always want to be the best player I can be, but also be the best teammate I can be. So like if I'm gonna tell my teammate I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna make sure I do it for my coaches and everything. So that's one thing I hold really true to my heart.
Mm. So being accountable, where do you think that desire to be that way came from? Did your family instill that in you?
It's really just like my dad just says it's part of being a man. Like you don't want to be with somebody that says they're gonna do something and they don't end up doing it. It's a pet peeve for me. So like I always tell people like do what you're gonna do. If you say it, do it. So like that's really just comes from my dad really.
Mm-hmm. And I know that Coach Elko has really stressed the importance of that as well with the football program. Have you seen that in your teammates?
Yeah, I see it all the time. He really says just focus on what we can do and what we can control. Really, it just goes back into practice. He gives us a platform on how he wants us to practice, and he expects us to practice like that, and that's what we're supposed to do, so we're going to do it every time. So we're going to practice fast, play fast, and we're going to live by that. So we live by it. It's really just the one key thing that we need to do to succeed.
Well, how has the new era of name, image, and likeness, this new era of college athletics, impacted your life or made a difference in your life? Can you share from your perspective what it's like being able to profit from your name, image, and likeness?
Yeah, it's real different. Me being a guy from JUCO, not having a lot of things and not being able to afford a lot of things that I need to live properly, like having name, image, and likeness, like is amazing. Like just coming here, being able not to worry about being able to eat and stuff like that, it really changes my life in that aspect. Cause like I always say, like I wasn't a person that was always blessed with everything, so being able to do what I'm supposed to do and get here and get everything that I worked hard for, like it really pays off and helps me in the long run. So it really helps out and things like that.
Mm-hmm. How do you think NIL and having that as a factor in in today's collegiate athletics environment impacts student athletes' decisions to like go pro or stay? How have you seen it impact those decisions?
Yeah, I always say it's pros and cons to it. I feel like it's as like the pros to it, you can end up coming back being in college. Like say you're a guy and it's your junior year and you want to graduate and you're not set to graduate early. If you want to come back, the NIL aspect for it can make sure like you can still get the same payment or around the same payment of you going to the NFL, and then you can still get your college degree with you being here and also being part of your school. And then also I see it as a point of where people will leave schools, like as a con of people will leave schools because they don't get paid enough. So it's like, do you really love football or are you just doing it for the money? So I see like the pros and cons to it, but I feel like it's more pros coming out of it now that you get to use your face and your name to get what you really deserve and what you worked for. So it just really depends how people use it and how they want to portray themselves behind it.
Mm-hmm. Beyond your time at Texas A&M, so future, what are your goals?
I don't really know yet, really. You know, my goal is always to go to the NFL and make a name for myself out there. Like, but I really want to do something back in St. Louis and bring awareness to, like, all the stuff that's going on in St. Louis. So that's really something I really want to do. It's really been on my heart. I want to do something with football there to get, like, all the kids playing football. Like, even if that's me being a coach, I always love football, so I have a whole football team in St. Louis. So I want to do something like that, but I know I want to do something to help my city out for sure.
To go back and to contribute and impact your hometown, your community. I'm sure that's such a rewarding thing to go back and be able to impact the place that made you who you are, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And also, what is it going to mean to you one day when you leave this university or with a degree from Texas A&M? What is that going to mean to you?
It's going to mean the world to me. Like, this is the first place I truly feel like accepted me and I took in as my home. So I really enjoy this place and what it's done for me and my family and changed my life. So me, like, leaving here and everything, like, I'm always going to be an Aggie for life. I know I've been at other schools and I haven't been here for 4 years, but me being here for this time I'm going to be here for, like, it really means a lot to me, and I appreciate the love everybody has shown me.
What does the support of the 12th man mean to you, and donors and season ticket holders who support to provide resources and facilities that y'all have, and who come out on game days and just support so faithfully and loyally? What does that mean to you?
It means the world to me because it also shows, like, yeah, y'all care for me as a football player, but also y'all care for me as a human being too. Like, y'all take time out y'all day to come talk to me and just sit up and worry about, like, what's going on in my life and stuff like that. It, like, also helps me in the football aspect, but outside of football, like, it means the world because they really truly care about you. And, like, the whole, like, Aggies help Aggies thing is a whole big thing, and it really holds true.
So to wrap up, can you tell us why you're proud to be wearing the maroon and white now, to be an Aggie and represent this university as a student athlete?
Really, like, the whole Aggie honor code and stuff like that, it really holds true to me. Like, just wearing maroon and white and showing, like, the whole thing Aggies are about, it just means the world, and I'm glad to rep it and play for the team with Texas A&M. So
Will Lee on Answering the Call podcast. Will, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you again for having me.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. A special shout out to our incredible podcast producer, Megan Hoffman, and to 12th Man Productions for their generous use of this studio. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to every donor and season ticket holder for always answering the call through loyal support of Texas A&M athletics and our student athletes. We will be back soon with more content. Thanks and gig 'em.